This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So I recently went to New York, Matt.
New York City. So nice.
And
they named it twice.
So nice they named it twice.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that?
I had no idea. No. But it's been a long time. It's probably been 8 years, 6 years.
I've never been to Manhattan. I've never been to New York. I've never been anywhere. I took a road trip from California through Arizona, New Mexico, and into Texas. And I've been to Oregon. But I've never really traveled outside of the West Coast.
Do you like
the
traveling?
West Coast is the best coast. I do, but I've always had family obligations. And so it's tough. Our bucket list goal for our family is to go to the East Coast and go up through Philadelphia, Washington, do all of that.
Boston, see all
Yes.
that.
Oh my gosh. But that's like a month-long trip. We want to drive across country and do that.
Man, that's a commitment to the family, though.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You guys are going to either come back solid as a rock or, somebody's getting left. Somebody's going to be left somewhere.
It would probably end up being me.
Yep.
Me and my wife are going to get into an issue, and she's going to leave me on the side of the road.
So Valerie and I, we did a lot of traveling. We traveled all 50 states together before we had kids.
In a car?
So the northwestern United States was a big loop in a car. The southwestern was a big loop in a car. And then after that, I only had so many vacation days when I was working in the oil fields. And so
So you didn't do all 50 states in one run.
No. It was
took breaks.
7 different trips. So Alaska, Hawaii were their own thing, northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast. And then there was, we call it the linchpin, where we flew into Columbus, Ohio, went up to Fargo, North Dakota, and came down to Dallas.
Wow.
So
now, wait, did you fly to Alaska or did you drive through Canada to Alaska?
We flew.
Okay, I thought so.
Flew to Anchorage.
Obviously, you flew to Hawaii because that's quite a drive.
We swam.
You swam.
Yeah. We flew to Hawaii, did the whole Road to Hana thing in Maui, and that was that. But
so you're with your sister in New York.
So we were taking a ferry across the Hudson, and we're looking at the Manhattan skyscape. Skyline. And I was looking at it, I was like, this looks completely different. And I remember...
From when you had been there previously, years ago?
Just previously. And so when I was last there, they were starting a project called Hudson, I think it's Hudson Yards. Mm-hmm. And now they're basically done. And these beautiful, beautiful buildings are finished, and they're just sparkling. And it was a total... it's very interesting, in your mind, how things sometimes are frozen in time.
Sure.
And then you go and I have not gone to a high school reunion because in my mind, everybody's still their 18-year-old selves.
Right.
And I'm curious, I don't know. And I'm still my 18-year-old self.
Right, exactly.
And they're going to see me in person like, oh man,
you haven't changed a bit.
No, you've changed a lot. We liked you better the other way.
How have you changed since high school?
So with my sister, we don't get to spend a lot of time together. And so we were just kind of reminiscing and talking, and she was like, hey, you've changed. And it got me thinking about, hey, how have I changed? Have I changed? And I think you need to be changing in order to be growing.
Sure.
Right? If the tree when it's first planted isn't the same tree, 30 years later. And so there's good changes and bad changes, but if you're not at least evolving, developing yourself personally, then there's potentially something wrong there. And so how I would probably describe myself as changing, we probably need to have Valerie on the show and see what she says about all this.
Your wife, Valerie.
My wife, Valerie. But
because you've been with her since high school, right?
No. So we met her freshman year of college.
Okay. So still when you were relatively young.
Yeah.
So she has seen change and growth in you over the many years.
Yeah. So we got together in 2010, and so 2024 right now. So 14 years.
You haven't gained any of that dad weight. Right?
I lost weight.
Wow, that's incredible.
Valerie and I lost. I won't share Valerie's side of that story, but I lost about 45 pounds.
Wow.
So yeah. So people say, oh, you're thin. You're lucky you have a fast metabolism. Not the case. I just don't eat as much. I just don't eat.
You just drink lots of coffee.
Yep. Decaf right now. But so what I noticed in the cities in the Skyline was change and a lot of opportunity. Like just one of those buildings. Just imagine if you owned just one of those buildings, how how your financial picture would change. Or let's say you worked on one of those buildings. Maybe that provided an income. Or let's say you're now living in one of those buildings, and now it provides you with a safe place to live in Lower Manhattan. And so it's just pretty interesting how life goes on and things evolve, and you need to be a part of it. You need to get into it. And so we're hearing a lot of objections right now in real estate about, hey, we're going to wait until after the elections. We're going to wait until after this. We're going to wait until interest rates drop. We're going to wait until prices come down. And those three things, prices, interest rates, and elections, are things I've been hearing now for a very long time. And the people who said that in 2012 wished they would have bought in 2012.
Right.
People who said that in 16, 20, and now 24 are going to wish that they had purchased when 28 rolls around. And so my encouragement to people listening to this is, you know what? Don't be like Johnny visiting New York and come back 6 years later and it looked totally different. You want to get involved. You want to get out there.
So what would you say to those family members, those couples that are feeling nervous, anxious, worried, fearful about those changes?
Yeah. So first of all, I totally get where they're coming from. Like, this is we deal with this day in and day out. Like, Valerie and I have bought and sold homes. We've invested in real estate. Like, we've been in these people's shoes. Like this, we're coming from a place of empathy. But at the same time, you have to take a step forward. You have to grow. You have to want to improve your life. Like, if you have this goal, just take that first step. Do some pre-planning with a real estate agent. It doesn't cost you anything. I've had many conversations where people wished they would have started the process sooner, but I've had nobody say, hey, we started it too soon.
Can you explain what you mean by starting the process?
Yeah, so there's a lot of the news. Tom Daves likes to say the news likes to terrify rather than clarify. And so starting the process just means talking with somebody who can get you accurate, up-to-date information about what's happening in the real estate market. So you may think interest rates are high, but are they as high as you think they are? You may think prices are going to come down, but are they? You may think foreclosures are going to happen, but is there any evidence to support that claim?
Right.
And so just get some good information for on which to create a plan.
So how do they do that? Do they just call up you guys if they're nervous, like, I don't want to sign any contracts, I don't want to get into any long-term commitments?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Yeah, so the easiest way is just to go to madeformoreliving.com. Just type in madeformoreliving.com or just Google us. You can Google Tom Daves and Google Made for More, and you'll see us, Made for More Realty, and you'll see us pop up on Google. We have tons of reviews. So whether you're looking to work with us or anybody, I would honestly just read through the reviews and see what do people have to say after having worked with that real estate agent. And
then just call you guys up and say, hey, I'd like to have an initial conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to sell or I'm not ready to buy, but I just want to talk and get informed.
Exactly.
Right?
Hey, so I met with a guy yesterday in Natomas. He owns a condo, and he was wanting some information on what he thought his condo was currently worth. And so we're sitting down, and one of the questions I always ask is, okay, so in a perfect world, when would you like to have this home sold? And he told me 5 years. And I was like, okay, well, the pricing is going to be very different from now in 5 years, but we're all about those long-term relationships.
Sure.
And so we just set up a game plan. He needed some vendor recommendations, so he could chip away at things that he wanted to get done prior to putting it on the market. We have this great tool where it provides you with an equity report every single month. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, and so we set him up with that tool so that way he knows what's happening to his home, and if he has any questions, he can reach out to us directly. And again, he's planning to make this move maybe in 5 years.
Right.
And so we do this all the time. So just reach out to us and start the conversation.
But I like what you're saying in terms of not being afraid of change, afraid of growth, afraid of taking the next step, because you and I both know, we're men of faith, that tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Absolutely.
If we don't live in the moment, take advantage of the opportunities that we have now, they may never come, and things may get worse, things may get better, but we have seen that things are cyclical, and that, when you take those leap of faiths, when you take those challenges to grow and change, they're usually always pay off in some way if you are focused on some kind of plan of growing and changing.
Yeah, I can't think of the last time, if ever, I heard anybody say, man, I really regret buying that house.
Right.
But I've heard so many times, man, I wish I would have gotten in the market sooner.
Right.
And so, like, just think about your own personal interactions and how, like, friends and family members and just people you know, how many of them feel the same way. Like, so I have this analogy of where you hold a water bottle. Like, a water bottle is not very heavy. Like, just your typical run-of-the-mill plastic water bottle. Hold it out in front of you. And you can do that. But after a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, it starts getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And the longer you delay in making this decision to move forward, not just buying or selling a home, but any decision in life, the heavier that decision gets.
Right.
And it just seems harder to make that initial start the conversation.
It's true. And I will be honest, I sometimes suffer from that indecisiveness where I want to make the perfect decision. Like, I just feel like, oh my gosh, if I make this decision, what's going to happen? Well, if I make this decision, what will happen? And I just get caught up on making the absolute most perfect decision that I become indecisive and I don't move and I become paralyzed, or I get filled with anxiety and worry, and that's just super unproductive, and it's doing nobody good. And it grows.
And it does nobody any good. And here's the harsh reality, Matt, is that making no decision is still a decision.
Right,
so
good point.
You're worried about, not you specifically, but if somebody's worried about making a decision about whether or not to buy a home or whether they should wait, well, making the decision to wait is still a decision. So my suggestion is, hey, just go out, have a conversation, get some real information, go out, tour some homes. Inventory's tight right now. If you're thinking about selling a home and you're also wanting to buy, there may not even be anything on the market this exact moment that you're interested in. But better to find that out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. Information is power, and it doesn't hurt to have those conversations. You've got the time, you're a busy guy, but you'll make the time to have those conversations, or someone on your team. Yeah. And so how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so just go to madeformoreliving.com. Just go ahead and Google madeformoreliving.com, or you can just look us up. Just type in Made for More on the search bar, Made for More Realty, and we'll pop right up.
There you go. All right, what are we talking about next?
So next, we're going to talk about Who, Not How. It's an incredible book and what that has to do with real estate and open houses.
Oftentimes we hear someone ask, what is it going to cost me if I choose to do that now? But rarely do you ever hear someone ask, well, what's it going to cost me if I choose to wait? And that's something we really need to consider and ask ourselves when it comes to selling your home. What's it going to cost me if I choose to wait? Right now is a perfect time to pull the trigger, especially when you're working with my friend Johnny Jennings and the Made for More Living team. You're going to get the most money possible in the shortest amount of time. He's going to treat you right. You can trust him, just like so many of our listeners have. So reach out to Johnny Jennings, Made for More Living. No matter what kind of condition your home is in, he can help. Google Made for More Living, because you get more with Made for More and Johnny Jennings.